Our next guest is Senator Al Franken, who is at the center of the controversy surrounding Attorney General Jeff Sessions' testimony during his confirmation hearing, in which he clearly did not tell the full truth about his contact with Russian officials. In fact, Senator Franken's question to Jeff Sessions created this controversy. Here's what Senator Franken had to say today after the confirmation hearing for the Deputy Attorney General, who will now supervise any investigations of the Trump campaign now that Jeff Sessions has recused himself.
Do you believe that he perjured himself in the hearing?
I said that it's hard to come up with any other conclusion. He said that he didn't correct the record in regard to the ambassador from Russia because that wasn't in the question. He answered a question I didn't ask. If there was a gotcha question, it's the question he invented to ask himself. What I believe is that he should come before the committee. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, but it is hard to come to any other conclusion than that he was deliberately not telling us the truth at that time.
Joining us now, Senator Al Franken, Democrat from Minnesota, a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Senator, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it.
You bet, Lawrence.
To the controversy as it was described today in your hearing, and I say this almost every night, I've never seen anything like it. Judiciary Committee hearing that, just for the audience, senators do not commonly characterize other senators' questions or behavior in hearings. We seem to be seeing a lot more of it nowadays, but Senator Grassley, the chairman today, accused you of using a gotcha question to try to trap Jeff Sessions. You insisted it wasn't a gotcha question that started off this whole thing. What does it matter whether it was a gotcha question or not? Sometimes in the hearing, people are trying to get you, and you got to tell the truth.
At the time I asked that question, I asked him what he would do if it turned out that it were true that members of the Trump campaign had met with Russians. What would he do as Attorney General? And he didn't answer that question. What he did say was that he had not met with the Russians, and that wasn't true. And but it was hardly, as I say, if it's a gotcha question, it's a question he asked himself that he answered.
Yeah. So that's your point that you've been making, is that that notion of the question he answered was one that he asked himself because he didn't directly answer your question. And in the hearing today, when your conflict erupted with Chairman Grassley, I saw you say at a certain point, well, just show the tape of what you actually said. And in the middle of your question, you actually say to Jeff Sessions, I know you aren't prepared on this new material because it just came out.
Right.
And we now, we have the capacity to show the tape. And so what I'd like to do now is actually show that tape.
Okay.
With Chairman Grassley accuses you of an unfair gotcha question, blindsiding the witness, however he wants to put it. We will show your question and Jeff Sessions' answer, and we will work off of that on the issue of is what we just heard perjury. Let's watch this now.
CNN has just published a story, and I'm telling you this about a news story that's just been published. I'm not expecting you to know whether or not it's true or not, but CNN just published a story alleging that the intelligence community provided documents to the president-elect last week that included information that, quote, Russian operatives claimed to have compromising personal and financial information about Mr. Trump. These documents also allegedly stated, quote, there was a continuing exchange of information during the campaign between Trump surrogates and intermediaries for the Russian government. Now, again, I'm telling you this as it's coming out, so you know. But if it's true, it's obviously extremely serious. And if there is any evidence that anyone affiliated with the Trump campaign communicated with the Russian government in the course of this campaign, what will you do?
Senator Franken, I'm not aware of any of those activities. I have been called a surrogate at a time or two in that campaign, and I not have communications with the Russians, and I'm unable to comment on it.
Very well.
Was Jeff Sessions' response to you perjury?
It is hard for me to draw any other conclusion given the letter that he wrote. We asked him, the Democrats on the committee, asked him why he didn't, in the 7 weeks after he misled us there, why he didn't correct it. And the response was absurd. He said, having considered my answer responsive and no one having suggested otherwise, there was no need for a supplemental answer. We of course didn't know he was giving us misinformation, so of course we wouldn't have asked for a supplemental response. Look, this is very, very serious stuff. He's the second administration official who has lied about contact with the Russians, and this is all goes to the fact that the Russians interfered with our elections. And the question here is, did the Trump campaign and their people collude with the Russians? And this is extremely serious stuff. What do the Russians have on Trump? Why did Trump has continually said all these good things about Putin? Why, what is in his taxes that he's so afraid of releasing? And why does he lie about his taxes? As you've said on your show, you can release your taxes if you're under audit. And we don't even know if he is under audit because he hasn't released any letter from the IRS saying you're under audit. This is getting more and more disturbing all the time, and this is very serious. And I don't think that was a gotcha question. In fact, I thought I was set that up in a way that he could have responded, which would have, what I was asking him is, if you're Attorney General, would you recuse yourself, is really basically where I was going. And instead he chose to answer his own question, which is, no, I haven't met with the Russians. And of course it turns out he has. I would like him to come and talk to the committee, testify again in front of the committee. And I think that maybe Chairman Grassley was feeling defensive about the fact that he won't call him to do that, because it's, I think, pretty clear now that there's something wrong here, something desperately wrong.
In Jeff Sessions' letter to the committee, he said, my answer was correct. Now, that means that if he was lying in his answer, then he's lying again in his letter.
Yeah, the letter really is just sort of insults your intelligence in a way that is just mind-boggling. And that's why I say there's no other conclusion that you can come to other than that he was lying and was committing perjury. I would like to give him the benefit of that. I was giving him the benefit this weekend. I was on a Sunday show and I was asked, is he lying? I'd say, well, he should come and talk to us. I hope he isn't. I hope he wasn't, but I don't know how to conclude from his letter the same thing. But the main thing to focus on here is that this is about whether the Trump campaign collaborated with the Russians, a foreign power, to interfere with our elections and undercut our democracy, which is the fundamental basis of our democracy, of our republic.
So just to clarify your own thinking on Jeff Sessions' testimony, you were given reason to suspect that there was perjury once it came out that he indeed had contacts with Russian officials, but it's his letter to the committee combined with his testimony that then leads you to the actual conclusion that he committed perjury.
Yes, I can't come up with any other conclusion, but I would like him to come and testify before the committee, so that he can at least explain this. But this letter is just ridiculous and insulting to anyone's intelligence. I mean, he says, I did not mention communications I had with the Russian ambassador over the years because the question did not ask about them. I didn't ask about the Russian ambassador. I had nothing, there was nothing in my head about a Russian ambassador. He's the one who brought up that he didn't meet with the Russians. I was asking him what he would do as Attorney General.
He brought it up under oath of his own volition. He made it material in the hearing, and he was under oath when he did that, and you discovered after the fact it was not true.
Yeah, and then he had 7 weeks in which to correct the record. And this explanation about why he didn't correct the record makes no sense whatsoever. So this is just getting stranger and stranger, and the plot thickens. Was the Trump campaign colluding with the Russians to change our election or to interfere with our election?
We will all be pursuing the answer to that question. Senator Al Franken, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Lawrence. It is Lawrence, right?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Coming up,